In Warcraft 3, there were Starcraft character models available for us to use, and I was wondering if the reverse was going to be true in the new game.
Well, I know the Tauren Marine is in. I don't know if that's a Warcraft or a Starcraft model. And obviously, we're going to be adding a bunch more stuff like that as we get towards the end. I know the art guys love adding that kind of stuff. It's really up to them on what they add, but I will certainly express your enthusiasm for it to them, and hopefully they'll get some time to add a lot of crazy stuff.
So obviously StarCraft 2 is 3D and it's got Battle.net 2.0, but other than that, other than those two obvious things, what would you say discerns StarCraft 2 the most from the original game?
Well, we got lots of changes. I think one of the things that this group is the most excited about is what we're doing with the campaign. Like, we've really worked on making each of these missions just as unique as they can possibly be. So as you play through the campaign, you're really facing a new challenge every time you sit down to play a new map. You don't know what you're going to get or what you're going to see next. And we're going to force you to think creatively, to really try to think of some new strategies with lots and lots of choice. At the same time, as you're playing through the game, you're really not on rails anymore. Like, we did as best we could, or these guys did as best they could with Warcraft 3 to try to make the game as open and to give you as much choice as you possibly could. But with the new stuff in Starcraft, where you can choose from a variety of missions next, you can customize your tech tree, it's just a lot of exciting stuff in the solo campaign. And as guys working on the campaign, it gets us really geeked up.
So it's obvious that you can modify the included character models and assets for the mod development, but what I want to know is how easy is it going to be to add new character models and assets and code those?
I think it's going to depend on how good an artist you are. So you're still going to have your own 3D authoring tools, and you're going to need to have the skill to do it. I don't know for sure yet, and we're still working on it, exactly what sort of art importing tools we're going to be able to ship with, but it's something we're obviously enthusiastic to support, if not at launch, soon after.
Hi there. I was a Warcraft 2 map maker and Starcraft map maker and Warcraft 3 map maker.
Woo-hoo!
And one thing that bothered me is somebody taking my map, calling it version 10, and changing one little thing. How can you help with that?
Yeah, this is a huge problem. I totally agree. And as you imagine, moving forward to Map Marketplace, this is a problem we need to solve. So we haven't locked down what our exact plans are, but rest assured we're going to make every effort to make it very difficult, if not virtually impossible, to steal from you, the mod maker, so that you have ownership over your work, and only you have ownership over your work.
I was wondering to what extent the UI can be customized in the editor that would show up in-game.
I think you've done some work on this, Mike. Can you speak to this? What's possible?
There's quite a bit of customization you can do. As you saw in the little first-person over-the-shoulder video we showed a minute ago, you can make your own custom buttons on the screen. You can make entire dialogues. You can put images inside of those dialogues, text, color. You can basically we created a bunch of tools for things that we aren't planning to use in the campaign. We asked for a lot of things that, programmers groan over a little bit because we say, well, we don't need this, but imagine what the modders could do. So we really try and give you as much UI customization as we can.
And that's sort of a core question. Every time a feature comes up in the game, like we want a boss bar, we want anything you can imagine, the one thing Mike always asks, or Matt always asks, well, how can you make this as flexible as possible so that mod makers can really make use of it? One of the things we've added for our game is an inventory system. Well, you've seen our game and you've played it on the floor. We don't need an inventory system for StarCraft 2. It's not part of our core gameplay mechanics, but it's something we know that you, the mod users, will use. So we've been doing a lot of work, and the engineers have been very supportive of this, of trying to get these kinds of systems into the game so you guys can really make use of them.
In what ways will the hero system in Galaxy be more flexible than it was in Warcraft 3?
So the question, what ways will the hero system be more flexible?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to recreate anything you wanted to do with Warcraft 3 in the hero system, but I think you can also create any number of other heroes. Our data editor is extremely powerful. Everything you saw in the Uberlisk was all created in the data editor. Our entire game is created in the data editor. Everything is coded with the data editor. So there's nothing in our game that you could not recreate. If you wanted to recreate, I don't know, maybe a little game called Brood War in our game, you could absolutely do that.
I was a very big fan of doing missions, and I've never really had any incentive to do secondary missions. So what are you going to add to make those more useful?
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question. Could you elaborate for us a little bit?
Well, in Warcraft 3, you had your primary objectives, then you had secondary things.
Right.
But in Starcraft, you didn't really need the secondary things because your heroes couldn't do anything. Yeah. So what are you going to do to make those secondary things more important?
Right, so in Starcraft 2, right, like we've got sort of main objectives and bonus objectives, which speaks to sort of the same things you're talking about. And we also have an achievement system, right, for our game at least, which we can use to encourage you to stretch and try to use your bonus objectives and try to make them a little bit more part of the experience for you. We've also got the option, of course, to offer you more money or additional research or lots of bonuses that will affect the next missions that you play based on the bonus objectives you complete. As a mod maker, of course, you can do whatever you want with bonus objectives, offer all kinds of benefits to players. Depending on what your mission is about, you can really offer them whatever you want and hopefully do some really cool stuff.
Hi, my question is, in the map editor, will it be possible to adjust armor to work the way it does in Warcraft 3 as a percentage rather than as a static value?
Yes. We actually added that specifically to support being able to reproduce the combat systems of past games. So we have a lot of little fields like that that we've just basically turned off for our gameplay itself.
Hello. Recently with the battle reports, what I've noticed is that the Zerg never win, and with most exhibition matches, they rarely win. Do you guys think you complicated the class too much, or something else?
Well, we're still working on these races a lot, and we don't really, frankly, know anything yet. Like, I'm going to be very excited once we get into beta to see what the real balance is. But I will say this, my guess is right now is the Zerg are still a little under construction and they still need a little bit more work. I feel like, and I think the balance designers and the designers here would agree with me, that we're still working on the Zerg, especially when you get to tier 2. Their options to really close the deal on the other races seem a little weak. But again, we've only got limited, play test time. It was sort of the last race we added in, so we're not as experienced at playing them. They're a very challenging race to play. So we're going to keep adding to them and trying to sort of make them a little bit more mighty, but we'll really see what happens once we get into the beta.
We've heard online that Starcraft 2 has been lately pushed back because of BattleNet. Did that come as a surprise to you as the development team? And if it did, what are you now going to spend your time on?
Well, it wasn't really just BattleNet. Like, BattleNet was something that when we looked at it, we thought, this is something we want to continue to work on and make it better. And it wasn't really a huge surprise, but the decision is to, when we had to do it was, of course, very painful for it. There was some screaming, there was a little crying, a few fist fights. Because obviously as developers, we really want to get this game into your hands. We really want to see what you think of the balance, and we really want you guys to be playing this game as soon as we can possibly get it to you. At the same time, the minute we decided to make this delay, we saw a bunch of things in the campaign that we really wanted to make better. We really benefited from it on the campaign side. So in addition, performance is something we're still looking at. So really, the delay kind of started there, but as we looked across the game, we saw lots of reasons, lots of things that we could do better to make this game a stronger product for you guys, to meet your expectations. And in many ways for us, across the game, the delay has been a real blessing for us.